There we are. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to We Win with Teeuwen. I am your host, Justin Teeuwen, and with me, hopefully, is Toly Shapiro. Toly, are you there?
Hey, Justin, I am there. Hi.
I was just watching the YouTube video for Candyman or Lollipop by Aqua. Have you ever watched that video, Toly?
Not recently. I think I watched it in my early years. I love Aqua though. It's one of my favorites.
It is wildly creative. I mean, there's a robot they're in space. There's a girl with purple hair that I'm watching right now. I did not envision any of this in my head when I heard the song.
Yeah, and really you know, it begs the question of like how original are some artists these days that, oh, I'm so wacky. I'm dressed as an Egyptian queen thing, and I've got like cream shooting out of my breasts. How original is that?
What video are you referring to?
Like specifically Katy Perry, but
what video is that where she's dressed as an Egyptian woman?
It's like the new one about like I don't know. I don't care about Katy Perry. I've seen the video. She sings about like something. I don't know.
Katy Perry Egyptian. Tune into YouTube and you can find it. Encouraging all the fans. So we'll get off of that though. That's not why we're here today.
Yeah,
we're here today. Yeah, it's not. That's not why everyone's tuned in. Why everyone is tuned in today is to discuss the really fascinating world of. I'm inserting so many superlatives because I was looking for the topic because I have lost my train of thought. Isn't that ironic? Because I think that's somewhat related to today's. Opportunity loss. That's it. I knew it started with an O. Opportunity loss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I really enjoy. I'm watching you for the first time. I haven't. I haven't watched you live whilst I've been talking to you before.
I do recommend that you mute the program while you're doing that, just because there will be an audio delay. Like if you mute
no, I have done
the
that.
stream.
I have done that.
Cool. So you're actually going to see like a few seconds after, you can see whether I'm really laughing or not, or whether is this because the last time someone walked in and I was talking to them while you were talking?
No, it wasn't because of that, but now that you mention it, I see this as an extra perk. The reason why I did it, actually, was because I wanted to see what you're wearing.
I did allude to the fact that I would be wearing something.
Yeah. You said you were picking out an outfit this morning, and I enjoy your tan jacket with your violet pocket square, and your blue shirt and tie combo there.
Thank you.
Yes, Justin?
I just said thank you. Go ahead.
Well, because I just really enjoy the delicious irony of the fact that I'm wearing some sweats. I'm in bed right now. I'm lying in bed. I am surrounded by like dust balls and like a teapot that I left over from yesterday, where it's really cold in my room because it's cold in Australia at the moment, and it's our winter, and so my tea's chilled unintentionally. I'm just enjoying like how formal and gorgeous you look, and how absolutely disgusting and terrible I look.
Well, I just want to point out that it's our summer here, and I'm in front of very bright like studio lights that are making me sweat profusely. And so though I look comfortable, inside I'm boiling. I'm like a teapot.
Well, your nose looks a little bit shiny. That is the only indication that I have that it is even remotely hot in there.
Yeah. It's okay. Every now and then I'll just do one of these, casually wipe it away and pretend like nothing happened.
Well, you have your pocket square, so you can always use that. That's what
I could. I don't think people use kerchiefs for that. I saw one guy do it, and then I thought to myself, ooh. Anyway, we're getting slightly off topic. Let's get to the matter at hand, which is opportunity loss. And I'm just going to sort of frame what we mean, what I think opportunity loss is.
Right.
I actually heard it from a remarkable motivational speaker of whose name I forget at the moment. And But what she'd said was she was a motivational speaker and a mother, among other occupations. She helped her husband put together a business. They put together this real estate management business. I think they manage over 200 properties. So she mentioned the idea, I thought she really succinctly just defined opportunity loss. She said that she was at this event speaking. I was listening to a CD recording of the event, and she said she was speaking at the event by choice, and that by choosing to be there at that moment, she was not able to do her duties as a mother. And so she had to, of course, make sure someone was taking care of her children at the time, but that she only came to events that were really special to her because she loved being a mother most in the world. But she also loved motivating others, and so she would take time away. But in so doing, she had to recognize that she was choosing one thing over another. And by doing the one, she therefore lost the opportunity to be the other for that period of time. Right. And I think that distinction, I really want to lay here in bed today. But so long as I'm laying in bed, I'm not going to the gym, which is something else I want to do. But if I'm going to the gym, then I'm not laying in bed. And I feel like life is a lot about balancing which opportunity you're going to gain in exchange for the one that you're not.
The reason both of us wanted to do this topic, and we came to it from different ends. Mine is actually my reason came about from two sources actually. I was at a seminar at work where this concept was mentioned, and then I also read it in a short story by David Sedaris. And basically, what I heard about this concept was that if you divide your life into 4 burners, like a stove. So one is your family, one is your friends, one is your health, and one is your work. And the concept is, the theory is that in order to be successful, you need to switch off one of those, or even 2 of those burners, for the other 2 to be the best that they can be.
Interesting. So he doesn't suppose that you can have all 4 burners going at the same time.
Well, he just mentions it in his story. It's not his theory, but but yeah, because I just don't want to give David Sedaris any more credit than he already has. Because he is brilliant, but yeah, it's all about the concept. So for me, I think that that's probably true. I think that you probably do need to switch off an area of your life where you're probably just going to have to accept, I'm not going to be the best at this. It's true for me. Like, I think that a 5th burner for me, in terms of something that I cut away in preference of other stuff, is romantic engagement with other people. I often think that, I'll put work or friendship or family ahead of that, and
you don't factor romance in with the others at all. Like, eventually romance becomes your family, does it not?
I think it does, but I think that initially it's about putting in some of that selfish time to kind of just, go on dates, meet new people, and I think that the upshot of that is that, this is part of that finite amount of time that you have to go and visit your friends and spend time with them and build those existing relationships. And it's, like, your life is split up into sort of 3 kind of 8-hour increments. You've got 8 hours of work a day, you've got 8 hours of sleep a day, and you've got 8 hours of recreation. And that recreation time is finite, unless you sleep less or work less.
Right. I guess a question I have, going back to the David Sedaris metaphor of a oven, or I guess a stovetop, is you said the presupposition is that there are 4 burners, but 2 of them have to be off for the other 2 to work at their best?
Yeah, one or 2 need to be off, yeah.
So it's interesting because in my work, and it's about time, I create what I call a compass for your life. And I, again, have 4 categories. Although the categories that I have are family, relationships, career, and passion. Family, relationships, career, passion. So, and I say in order to know your direction, like where you're going and to be centered, you need to equally balance all 4 of those. If you stray, if you ignore one, so I actually have a slightly different view than that metaphor, which is if you ignore one, you end up moving away completely. So let's say I ignore relationships. So friendships and romantic relationships are not as important. Career, passion, and family are. Then I'll eventually find myself out of balance in my own life.
Right.
And feel like something's missing. So in order to feel centered and sort of progress equally and do well in all areas, you need to have an equal sense of all 4, where you're going and what you're doing in those. But rather than categorize it as friends, I categorize it as relationships, because you can balance whether you want to spend your time with friends or whether that one of those friends becomes a serious romantic relationship. And then you jig a little, you shuffle whom you spend your time with among the friends.
Well, I guess the burner theory's response to that would be, how well can you do any of those things if you don't acknowledge for yourself that your time is not infinite? Like, yeah, you might balance out 4 things and you might have them in your life and include them in your life. But you wouldn't really do any of them exceptionally.
I can see that. I mean, we could talk about it in general terms if you want, or did you want to use a more specific example?
Yeah,
where this happens.
So with me, for example, I moved to a different town in Australia for a job, and I really, really like my job, and my job is really important to me. But it means that I had to leave some pretty great friendships behind in Melbourne, and my family's in Melbourne, and I've made some great friendships here, but it's not something, you know, it's something where I consciously had to let go of some things in order to get other things.
That's true. You made a choice, a distinctive choice to enhance your career. Do you feel that enhancing your career lessened the family and friends aspects of your life?
Well, I've made other friends here, so in terms of like a personal satisfaction kind of thing, you know, that void is somewhat filled, but in terms of family, I definitely see my family less. I engage with my family less. And in terms of your compass sort of idea, I guess that's a good balance thing. Like maybe I was over-consuming the family aspect by being around them all the time, and that I sort of found a more palatable way for myself to consume that.
A question I have is regarding family, and I'm 100% confident that our audience is appreciative of you sharing some details of your personal story with them. So I wanted to thank you for that, by the way. Now, do you feel, for example, that family is? Do you feel content or happy with the balance of family that you have presently, or do you feel like you could have more time, more connection with your family?
Well, it's interesting because the way that things form is that, like, my mum is basically the Toly correspondent. So every couple of days she will have an update of Toly news after she's sort of spoken to me. And if anyone else picks up the phone in the house and they start talking to me, then my mum will rip out the handset from their hands and she'll start talking to me. and she won't acknowledge the fact that they may have wanted to speak to me. And it feels really flattering and nice that Mum's chosen, like, well, he's my baby, so he's my responsibility, he's my topic of interest, and she sort of staked her territory. It's quite entertaining, actually.
So your mom certainly misses you. Sorry?
Yeah. But she's yelled at my grandmother before. She's like, my grandmother's speaking to me, and she's like, "Stop boring him," and just rips the phone out of her hand and just goes and starts talking to me. It's really wonderful.
I think you bring up a really great point. You know, a lot of people feel like they have to make a choice between career and family. Often, I get this concern quite a bit. Like, they have a career opportunity that takes them away from their family, and then depending on how close they are with their family, some people, it's not even an option. They physically want to be present with their family, and they do not even consider a career away from them, which then they're making a choice to limit their career options. And then at the same time, there are others who, you know, pursue their career option but aren't as connected to being close to their family, so moving away is different. I would propose, though, that in either circumstance, there is a possibility for both. And I'll give you some examples. I met a Norwegian man who wanted to relocate his life to Hawaii. He wanted to build an organic farm there. He'd been working in the States for a while, and he wanted to move his life to Hawaii. Now, he was married, but I think divorced, and so the only family that was really important to him, the most important people, were his parents, and so he relocated them. Are you still able to hear me, Toly? Are we back on?
Yes, I can hear you now, Justin.
Excellent. I'm not sure where you lost me, but I'm going to go back just a little bit.
He was married, but now he's divorced.
Yes, and the most important people in his life were his parents. So he actually arranged for them to move with him. And they relocated also, and he, you know, prepared a separate home from but neighbors, and basically moved his family to him because they were able to move. And where he was going, he was settling in on Hawaii Island. I mean, it's not like it was a bad place to move.
Now, right? Now, Justin, this is a judgmental, unsafe sort of space, right? So I can point out that he's weird, right? He's a weird person. Like, it's a weird big jump to go from Norway to Hawaii. It's kind of
that he was exceptional. Let's say that. There is certainly an exception made for him.
I feel like that is a really nice way of saying that he's weird.
Okay, so he's one. Now, I can use for example, my own brother. I hope he wouldn't mind me sharing. You know, he lives out west coast of the United States in Seattle, and my family, they live in Ontario.
Right.
And I certainly think that that's not ideal. That's a very large distance between. It's like a 6-hour flight between, you know, him to get here or us to get there. Now, what he's done, though, which is interesting, to kind of create a little more balance in the family side, because he works in the the computer field. There's a lot of computer companies out in Seattle, and actually two of my brothers live there now, so that's nice. They have a little connection with each other, of course, but they fly here at least once a year, if not twice, for at least a week, if not longer. And every now and then they'll fly one of us down and get some one-on-one time with us. And in some respects, you might say he spends even more time with his family. I mean, he certainly calls, and I communicate with him using Skype on the regular, and I'm sure he calls and connects with the remainder of my siblings as well. So, you know, he's not able to move us. I come from a large family of there are 7 children and 2 parents, so we all don't relocate to him. But he makes a sincere effort to come to us, as well as inviting us to come to him when it's convenient.
You know, that's interesting. I guess, like, if I reflect a little bit on my situation, then I think that probably the quality of the conversation, the quality of the relationship that I have with my mum and dad, whilst being away with them, is sometimes even better, because, living in the same house, you might have like an hour-long argument or frustration over the fact that someone isn't doing the dishes or something like that. But living apart, you just give each other the sort of like the summary of the most interesting parts of what's going on with you or what you're thinking about. So the quality of your relationship with your family can almost improve by distance.
It can. I mean, I think in the end, what I'm suggesting is the quality of your relationship with friends or family can improve or not improve. And I think that distance is not the major factor. I mean, it would be if money was an issue, for example, if you were limited in finances and you lived on, say, different continents, or if immigration was an issue. I have friends whose their entire extended family is in another country.
Yeah.
And their extended family is not even able, there was a wedding and they weren't even able to come to the wedding. Because immigration wouldn't let them. So what they have to do is they have to every few years go to the extended family, and they're restricted basically to phone calls and internet as connections. So there are times where distance can certainly, I think, make it more challenging. But the degree to which you're close to someone, I don't think that is necessitated by how far you are from them. So if you choose career over family, I know people who simply say they just don't have time for family and career. They're in the same city and I don't have time for my family. And I feel like if family is something that's an important factor in a person's life, that they would choose the time for family. They would opt to prioritize that over others.
I guess I don't know. It's difficult. You feel like you might be oversaturated by one thing over another, and then
yes,
you might want to go to a completely other extreme where I don't really want to talk to my family this week or this month or whatever.
Yeah, like I used to go through periods of binge working where I would work 17 hours in a day. I mean, steady working. That means no time for anything else. Health, relationships, family, romantic, nothing. I just work, get up, work, eat, prepare food, go to sleep, wake up, do it again. And I would do it for 2 or 3 days. But the human body, I mean, we're a social species. We're not built to be automatons and just work like a machine all day long. And we're also not built to be completely social all day long. I think the balanced life that we're discussing is a preferable notion, and one in which I think many people, our viewers, probably are like, yeah, I'd love to know how to balance it all. How do you juggle all these different balls in the air, if you will?
Well, are you an introvert or an extrovert, Justin?
I would classify myself as an extreme extrovert.
Right. So I think that your way of experiencing the world as different to mine, I'm an introvert, would be that for you working 17 hours being by yourself would be extremely draining. Like it would be satisfying or whatever, and whatever, what have you, but it would be draining to you, and you would go and you would speak to other people afterwards, and you would want to spend time with them in order to recharge your batteries. For me, working by myself for a very long time, being isolated, that might actually be a really regenerative experience for me. Or it might be very exhausting, but at the end of it, I wouldn't want to go and speak to other people. I would want to just go to my room for a couple of days and not see anything.
Okay. I mean, certainly, I guess what I'm saying is you can choose to balance out your life in the way that will please you. So introvert or extrovert, you can certainly have enough. But when you live your life in these extremes, I liken it to if your life is like a balloon.
Right.
Okay. And if you push in on the balloon from one point, the balloon will bulge kind of everywhere else. But if you push it really far into that one area, it tends to bulge even more, and eventually it could pop, right? You'll feel that burst. You'll feel that I don't know what the word I'm looking for here.
Explosion.
The explosion, like the loss of integrity in other areas of your life, and your life will then resume some sort of equilibrium again. Your life always wants to reach this sort of harmony that you can create for yourself. And so what I'm supposing, I remember a really good friend of mine, a mentor, his name was Daryl. If you're listening, hi, Daryl. And Daryl once told me, you can basically achieve really well, you can achieve 4 goals at a time. 4 distinct goals. As soon as you start adding more goals, that's when it really starts to fall apart. So I actually make 1 goal in each of the 4 realms, or burners, if you will. I make a goal in each area. One that focuses on relationships, one that focuses on passion, career, and then, of course, passion, career, relationships. Why do I always miss one?
Health.
Passion, career, health. Thank you. So I always make sure to have 1 goal in each area, and then over a week, I make sure that I'm doing some actions towards those goals.
Right.
And the goals, it's really not about the achievement of the goal. The purpose of the goal is actually to solicit action in those areas. And the extent and breadth of those goals is reflected by my choices of how I spend the time. So if I'm like, okay, right now I want to build a business, as I'm building a business, then that means work, the career side, takes a little bit more of my time than I would spend on relationships. However, I recognize that that's not sustainable. In the long run, if I want to have, say, a romantic relationship in my life, that would mean I would need to spend a little less time at work. And I would need to create some space for that to happen.
Sorry to interrupt you, Justin. I think that goes
No problem.
I think that goes to how you define success, though. Because if you define success in your work as being, really, really well known and like an influential thinker in the world, blah blah blah, then achieving that, you may never achieve that, and it might be because you've tried to maintain equilibrium by doing everything, and it might mean that for you it might be an imbalance of that equilibrium. It might be a compass very sharply angled to a particular side.
Right. I would clarify, though, that success, if you ask people who are deemed successful by others, so they possess and demonstrate external indicators and measurements of success, like wealth or fame, status, awards,
But do you think
accolades.
Those 4 things that you've mentioned, wealth, status, awards, fame, are those those aren't any of the things that I would want to be necessarily. They're not things that I particularly care about. I don't really care about being well known. I don't really care about having more money than I need.
What I was going to say, I mean, that's how many people define success. I don't think that is success, though. Success is not something indicated by external factors. Success is something, when I've asked people who are millionaires or people who are famous or people who have achieved goals, like gotten an Olympic medal or achieved some sort of great accomplishment in their life. When I ask them, so what is success to you? They all come back with the same general answer. Success is happiness, being happy in what you do. So I believe that you can achieve that kind of success, the level of contentment. You can achieve contentment or happiness and do so regardless of an external measure of achievement. I believe that external measures of achievement will be forthcoming when you find contentment, but that contentment must come first.
I think happiness is a very nebulous, difficult concept. Uh, maybe I can sort of illustrate my point there by giving you another personal example from my life. So
Okay.
there were, when I was going through high school, that was kind of like the peak time in my life where I felt that I was sort of making a decision as to what I wanted to do in the future. I felt that once I picked, once I made a couple of specific steps, then I was cutting off for myself opportunities, particularly in terms of my career. Like my career from even a young age was something that I was really looking forward to begin. And there was some options sort of doing creative artistic things, and there was some options going into a different profession to the one that I'm in at the moment, and I felt like I had a very good aptitude for the profession that I chose not to go for. And then there was the profession that I've chosen now that, although I'm really happy with, sometimes I think about, what could have been. Yeah, and even, I mean, even now, like, the concept of, I enjoy comedy, I enjoy writing, and it's something that I think about. I could have pursued that in a really significant way, and become someone in that field.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's something that I kind of realized I don't really want. I enjoy the performing part, I enjoy the writing part, although I find the performing part really terrifying. It's not something that I care about in terms of the money or the fame aspect or the recognition. So,
it's the process.
Yeah,
you enjoy the creation process.
That's right. So
Okay.
I kind of don't see the merits of pursuing something if you don't want to engage with it in its kind of full way, in its kind of complete way.
Okay. I think you bring up a really great, such a great point. When you mentioned when you were in high school and you had to make that choice, and I'll share with you my personal journey. Actually, how I got to being on this show with you today. How I got to here. So, when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I believed that I could do anything I put my mind to. So I didn't feel restricted in any way by what I was going to do. I didn't feel like I didn't, even in school, like my talent and ability, my lowest grades were in like the 80s range.
Right.
So even in ability, I was at least, slightly above average in most respects. I think I steered away from areas where talent may have been involved. I wasn't a
Justin,
visual
you're
artist.
So brilliant. You're so amazing. Oh my God. I can't believe
What I'm saying is,
your lowest grade was so high. That's like the highest grades for some people.
well, what I'm saying is, when I applied myself, I could do anything, and I believe that's true for anyone. I'm not saying I'm any particular special in that.
No,
regard,
you're special, Justin. You're special.
Well, I certainly have. You could say I'm exceptional.
You're a special, unique little snowflake. And
we all are.
Brilliant and amazing and wonderful. And you're the second coming, and we should all listen to you.
I'm really glad that you're bringing everything, that you're saying what the audience is probably thinking. So I'll get to the point. I went through each topic because I really had no clue. And because I believed I could do all of them, I looked at them all and just started to do process of elimination based on interest. And I came down to 5 or so general areas, and I'll do my best to remember them right now. I know philosophy was one, psychology, physics, engineering kind of creeped in there as something slightly different, although related to physics. I know I was interested in sociology. Those were the main ones. I'm struggling to remember there was a fifth, but it's eluding me right now.
But you know, all of at least 4 of those, you know, excluding engineering, maybe. They're all things that you can bring into this one career that you're kind of choosing for yourself.
Yes.
Like, you want to be a motivational speaker. You want to be somebody that encourages and transforms people's lives, and you can bring all of those areas of knowledge into this one endeavor.
I'm glad you pointed out, because essentially I found a career that was able to put all of those interests into one area, except the physics. The physics didn't really fit. Now, what's interesting, Toly, and I don't know if you know this, that's where all my education is. Formal education.
I do know this. You've mentioned it before, believe it or not. And you haven't stopped mentioning it, frankly. But you, I feel like you do bring physics into it. Like a lot of a couple of times we've spoken, and you can bring up kind of like an example, a metaphor using physics. Like your understanding of physics, your understanding of the world, kind of informs the way that you see it. So I think it's sort of involved. It's not involved in a very academic sense, but in a sense, it's important.
Yes, and I mean I have a work coming called The Scientific Laws of Success that very much does that exact what you're talking about. Now, I spent 9 years pursuing physics and completely looked at everything else as a hobby, as a passion. So the other things were like, well, I like them, but I don't think I want to be a psychologist. Well, I like it, but I don't think I want to be a philosopher. And, you know, I just, much like your own story, I didn't feel like I could express myself to the fullest extent. I wasn't sure, to be honest, when I was younger. I didn't think there was a career for me in those fields. If I were to go back now to school, I would not study more physics. Having studied it, I would actually study psychology and philosophy. Those are really interesting to me and very directly related to what I do. But anyway, at some point along the way in my career, I realized that my career and my passion weren't the same. And I had to make a choice. Do I continue with this career, or do I take my passion and turn it into a career? And I could have stayed with physics. I certainly made my way as an educator. I was teaching mathematics, physics, and even some forms of art as well. Dancing became a huge passion of mine later in university. And I actually attempted, I auditioned. I was on that So You Think You Can Dance program, and I auditioned for cruise ships, and I was on my way. I'm like, well, maybe I should be a professional dancer, and I went on that road. And then I suddenly realized, it was about 2 years ago, Toly, that I realized you can, in a sense, have it all. For example, I wanted to be a professional dancer, but I think what changed for me is I expanded what that meant. And realized if I performed a little bit of dancing, you know, here I go, professionally dancing. You'll see it in a moment when you watch the stream. I realized if I'm incorporated just even 20 seconds of dancing into my work, and somebody was paying to watch me, then that would make me a professional dancer. And although they didn't come there to watch me dance, as soon as they're watching me dancing, I realized that could be a professional dancer. And so all of my work and interest in dancing suddenly relaxed. And I said, you know, I can continue this as a passion, as a hobby, and I can integrate it into my work. And I found a way to do that and to kind of resolve that conflict.
With all due respect, that's bullshit.
Okay. What do you think?
Like, because you're not a professional dancer. You've chosen a very specific career path, and that's to be respected. I think that that choosing something and being committed to it is a really virtuous thing, and it shows decisiveness. But you're not a dancer. You're not. You're somebody who can dance and dances very well. But you're not a dancer. You're a motivational speaker. That's your job. That's what you're doing right now. That's what you're devoting all of your energy towards. And the fact that you've learned dancing and you are a good dancer and you can do it, that's not the reason why people would be tuning in to watch you. So I don't think you're a dancer. I think that
Yeah, and I mean that's okay. I guess what I'm saying is I feel like I satisfy to a level of satisfaction for myself of professionalism as a performer that is good enough for me. I don't need anyone else to approve or agree with my chosen definition for it to satisfy me. I certainly could audition and then work, and I have worked as a professional dancer before. I have been paid strictly as a dance performer, but that I don't need to continue doing that because I realized that and you're right, I made a choice as a motivational speaker. I made that distinctive shift.
Isn't that so? I like going back to something that we were talking about before. I think that it's about like one thing is what you define as success, or what you define as being successful in a particular field, and then it's about choosing whether one form of success in a field is a more extreme or more pronounced version of success. So, for example, your idea of success as a motivational speaker might be to be renowned and to have a best-selling book and to have an award-winning podcast and to change, thousands or millions of people's lives. And your idea of being a successful dancer is finding 20 seconds to dance sometimes. Like, your idea of a success as a dancer is not equal in any way to your idea of success as a motivational guru. And so I think... So I really don't see the balance there. Like, I see it as a personal balance, a personal satisfaction balance. But I certainly don't see it as an opportunity balance.
But I although I agree with you that there's not an externally equal level of measurement for me as a dancer versus me as a motivational speaker, right? My accolades for both will not be equal.
No.
But I do not define success, as I said earlier, by any external measurement. Success is defined in from what I've seen from others and from what I coach others for, is that success in external measurements are only temporary. If you are the world's best dancer or the world's best speaker, that will only be temporary anyway. For how long do you want to be that? Do you want to do that for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years? But eventually that's going to expire because our lives expire. Our lives are temporary. External measurements are only temporary in terms of your happiness, in terms of your contentment. An internally motivated level of success, of contentment. I use the word contentment because contentment is not like happiness, which is, like you said, I think you used the word nexus. It's like this elusive, nebulous. Yeah, it is. Happiness is very nebulous, I use the word contentment because it refers very specifically to this peace and happiness that it radiates from within.
Okay, so let's devil's avocado here.
I love a devil's avocado. However, I'm acknowledging our viewers. I'm acknowledging our viewers may want like a 1 minute break. It's been about 46 minutes. Can we return with a little bit of a what's it called? Like a hook? Is that what it's called? Like where I am so interested in your avocado.
It's a segment
because it's really great.
It's a segment. Yeah. It's Devil's Avocado. Yeah. Toly's Devil's Avocado is a segment.
Right. And I know I interrupted you right on. If you still have your avocado, right? You know what you're going to deliver?
Avocado. It's loaded and ready to be shot in your face.
So good. Okay, we're going to take a small 1 minute break. Give you a chance and me a chance. I don't actually have to do anything, but just in case anyone has to do anything, I'm going to give them 1 minute to go and do that thing, and then we'll come back. And while we're on a break, I'll throw some of that aqua back on. Give me, actually, I think I got it. Let me see. Yeah. we'll put Lollipop back on because, golly, that's such a good song.
Oh,
it really inspires. Okay, so I'm going to go on mute, and we'll return in just a moment.